Okay, here we go. Episode 11, mic'd up, October 17th. Happy to be here. Big time stuff happening in baseball as we get set for the Dodgers to go for the sweep, of the Brewers. You have the Mariners. They're in trouble here. They're certainly in trouble, winning the first two in Toronto, then losing the next two at home. They got a series over there, out there in Seattle now. They got a real series and a real issue here. So we're going to get to all of that, plus Thursday night football reaction. Um, that was terrible. That was absolutely terrible for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll talk about that along with a little Week 7 preview, talk a little Giants, talk a little Jets. And we are going to discuss slightly, because this is going to be a big offseason discussion, and opinions may change, including my own, but we'll talk a little Tariq Skubal as well before we get out of here. So hopefully run this around 30, 35 minutes, get out of here and enjoy the weekend, a big sports weekend with the baseball and obviously the football. You also have a very nice college football Saturday as well. Two big games in the SEC there, a couple of games tonight as well. So we'll start with the baseball. The Dodgers, they go up 3-0 in the series. I posted a video on TikTok and Instagram yesterday just discussing, everything that's gone on with the discussions about the payroll and this and that, and the Dodgers have this unfair advantage. And I don't really like to hear that. I really don't. Obviously, I'm a fan of a team that spends big, so my opinions are going to probably side with them. I want my team to spend money. I have an owner that's willing to spend money, and that's that. And of course, the other team in the city as well has an owner that's willing to spend money and will spend money to do whatever it takes to win. And I don't feel pity for those teams that have owners who, by the way, there are like a handful of owners in baseball that truly cannot compete with, and I'm just going to say, the middle class to the bottom of the top 10 of spenders in baseball. Okay, there's a couple of owners that truly don't have that kind of money. Most of them, though, do. Most of them do have the money to spend at least towards the 10 to 15 range of payrolls if you look at the 2025 salary payroll, and I'm going to pull it up right now. Most of them have the ability to do that. So I don't feel bad for the Milwaukee Brewers because they don't have the same kind of, spending power the Dodgers do. Okay, they run their team completely differently. Okay, that's it. That's what happens. It sucks, but this is the way they run their business. And it's not right. I don't agree with it, but that's the way they do it. The Dodgers spent $350 million on their payroll this year. $268 million of that is active. Okay, $49 million of it injured. The Brewers were 20. The Brewers were 17th. 17th. Okay? $121 million. That's what they spent. And I'd like to pull up the revenue, and I will pull up the revenue at some point. But I can't get here with feeling bad for them. First of all, the revenue in terms of the TV deals are split evenly. It's all split. Okay, so a team that doesn't play on Sunday Night Baseball or on Fox on Saturday night, they get money too. It's all split evenly. The Brewers sell out. The Brewers have a great fan base. The Brewers sell beer. The Brewers sell food. The Brewers sell jerseys. Okay? They have the ability to spend more money on players. They don't have to go out and trade Devin Williams because they don't feel like paying him $11 million. They don't have to go out there and trade Corbin Burns because he's a year away from free agency and they don't want to pay him. That's their philosophy. That's perfectly fine. Their philosophy works, especially in the regular season. It works. Give them credit. Their analytics, the way they decide who they're going to pay and not going to pay, their player development, it works. But don't go on social media and cry because the Dodgers spend more money than the Brewers. This is the way the Brewers chose to do it. This is the way the Brewers operate. Freddie Peralta, their best pitcher, may be on the market this offseason. Why? Because he's coming close to being paid, needing to be paid. That's why he is going to become available for all 29 other teams. He is going to be available for trade. And by the way, only a handful of teams are going to be interested. You know why? Because you have to pay him. That's the problem with this sport. And a salary cap isn't going to fix this. A salary cap does not fix the issues in baseball. It just doesn't. And again, I don't believe teams should need to spend $350 million. I don't believe the Mets need to spend $342 million to miss the playoffs. And the Yankees, $305 million to lose in the ALDS. You don't need to do that. And the owners will tell you that, and they don't want to do this. But this is where they're at. This is where they're at currently. So, obviously, you want to get that number down, and I think the Mets and the Yankees will be able to at some point, more likely the Mets sooner than the Yankees, but the Dodgers spent good money. The Dodgers signed Ohtani, and the deferred contracts are another thing. And the deferred contracts, I'm not all on board with. Okay, I'll say that. I'm not fully on board with all the deferred money. I think they need to they need to regulate how much you can actually defer. And I think that'll be brought up at a massive topic point during the next CBA, which obviously there's going to be a lockout because of the issues you're seeing right now in this series, that the small market owners are going to go to the commissioner, to the players, and say, we can't compete with this. We can't compete with $350 million payrolls. Guess what? They are currently dominating you. Dominating you. And you beat this team 6 straight times. You beat this Dodger team 6 straight times in the regular season. And they are whipping you. 3 hits a game. 9 hits total in 3 games. The Dodgers have a bad bullpen. Guess what? Glasnow didn't finish the game last night. Glasnow didn't get into the 6th inning last night. He didn't finish the 6th. He got into the 6th. He didn't finish the 6th. You had chances against their bad bullpen, which they actually spent money on and did not do a good job with. Couldn't hit them. They're not dominating this team offensively. They're not killing you offensively. Ohtani's not killing you. You're just playing bad baseball. Don't blame it on the fact that they have $350 million in payroll. Their pitchers are dominating. Their starting pitching has been truly unbelievable. Snell 8 innings, Yamamoto 9 innings. Glasnow was good for 5 2/3, 8 strikeouts. Nobody told you to start Aaron Ashby, whatever his name is, and then go to Mizrowski for 5 innings and then try and do it this way. Nobody told you had to do that. I also don't love Pat Murphy before this series, and I'm going to get some heat for my podcast partner Kevin Bunk for this. Like Pat Murphy playing this, small town, little guy, nobody knows us role. Yeah, that really worked, Pat. That really worked. Did that motivate your guys? Because clearly it doesn't look like it. Did that motivate? Before the series started, he's sitting there during a press conference saying, well, they probably don't know who some of our players are, but they're going to know by the end of the series. They probably don't, Pat. With how embarrassing this has been. This was supposed to be a good series. This was supposed to be David versus Goliath. This was supposed to be a 6 or 7 game series that was entertaining as all hell, and instead it is a laugher. Domination. Done. Don't belong on the same field. Almost wish the Cubs would have won the series. Think it would have been a little bit closer than this. This is embarrassing for the Brewers, for baseball, and for the Dodgers. Sure, you could say it's an embarrassment of riches, but they just really don't have many flaws, and they are that good of a baseball team. They're that well run. They're that well managed, and they just play that well. Veteran guys that are doing their job and doing enough to win baseball games, and they're going to be sitting there waiting for the winner of the Mariners and the Blue Jays, who are currently beating the hell out of each other, not winning games at home, and they'll be sitting there waiting in the wings for them. and they're going to be well rested, and they're going to get their guys. They're going to be able to line up their rotation the right way. Probably go Snell, Yamamoto, Glass now like they did here, and get moving. Good for the Dodgers. They advance. I'll say it already. They advance. And that's that. The Mariners, oh boy, with the Seattle Mariners. I was doing victory laps on, Wednesday, after they go up 2-0 and they're heading back to Seattle. I'm like, oh, this is over. This is done. There's no way they lose this series. There's no way. Maybe they'll lose a game in Seattle, but who cares? They're going to finish it there. Luis Castillo was awful last night. Max Scherzer, what a start. And here you go. This team now has a chance. They're completely back in the series. They've taken back home field, tying this thing up. 2 more in Toronto, only 1 more in Seattle. I mean, they have completely turned this thing around. Give credit to Bieber, give credit to Scherzer. The last 2 nights, shutting down this dangerous offense, which has looked great over the past few games now. Polanco, nothing last night. Arozarena was bad. Cal on base once with a walk. I mean, this team has completely shut this offense down, and now the Mariners are in serious trouble. The Mariners are in serious trouble here. So it looked like it was going to be a cakewalk. It looked like it was going to be easy. That's no longer the case. 2 games tonight. You have Seattle and Toronto, 6 o'clock in Seattle, and then 8:38 tonight, TBS. You have the Dodgers going for the sweep. I mean, what a turn. What a turn in the American League Championship Series here. This Mariner team completely just disappointing me to no end. I'm upset about this. I'm upset about these Mariners. I was talking my crap here. I was saying, Mariners, I was right about the Mariners. This team's going to the World Series. I couldn't be more wrong. We got a series here. We got a series in Toronto, not going down without a fight. How great has Vladdy been? You cannot talk about the Jays without talking about how great Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been for this team. And we're going to pull up the exact numbers right here. But in the postseason, he was quiet the first 2 games here. He was very quiet the first 2 games, but he has turned it on. He has turned it on. In this postseason, he's got 5 home runs, 11 RBIs, hitting .455 with a 1470 OPS. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. 5 homers, 11 RBIs in this postseason. Just historic stuff from this kid. Bryce Miller, who was great in game 1 against Kevin Gausman, a rematch in game 1, here in game 5. Obviously, it's a must-win for both teams. You need to win game 5, but more so for this Mariner team who needs to stop a 2-game skid, who is going back to Canada after this game. This is a big one. On FS1 today at 6, I'm super pumped for this. But it's a massive, massive game. Just a massive game. And we'll see if they can hold it off a little bit, hold off these Jays a little bit. But incredible job from the Blue Jays, who really looked dead. They really did look dead. And now they're back. Blue Jays, just for payroll purposes, because we were on it, 255. They're 255. That's 7th. Mariners are 12th, 164. Mariners spent a little money. See? If you were the Brewers, could you get to 160? Could you get $40 million more on there from Milwaukee? If you can get $40 million more on there, we're talking about a different case here. We're talking about something different. Maybe we're talking about a tied series or 2-1 Dodgers. Who knows? Incredible stuff. To the football we go. I want to start with the Giants. You got some crap talking on social media with the Giants and the Broncos. The Bronco players responding not only to Jackson Dart and the jewelry he wears, but the dances he does. You've got Nick Bonito calling out the fan base, saying this is one of the more delusional fan bases he's ever heard. Okay. I don't have much expectation for this game. I think it's a very emotional day, obviously. They're inducting Demaryius Thomas into their Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, and it's going to be a great day in Denver for the Broncos and their fans, an emotional day, but I think something the fans are looking forward to. I don't believe the Giants actually have a chance here. But with the way the Giants have played, there's a lot of excitement. And I'm currently excited, more excited than I've been in a while to watch a Giants game because of the energy that these two rookies have brought and the way the team has looked over the past few weeks. So I'm excited, but I don't have this crazy expectation. I certainly don't believe they are going into Denver and winning this football game against a really good defense in a tough environment to play. I don't believe they're going to win, but all I'm asking for is let's go in there, let's play competitive, good, clean football and have a chance to win the game late. That's all I'm asking for, and I don't think that's much to ask for. Can you play a clean, complete football game against a really good defense, against a playoff team from last year, against a really good head coach? Could you do that? I don't believe this team actually has a chance. I don't. I don't think they are going into Denver and winning this football game, but it'll be pretty damn cool. And they've surprised you twice now. 3 times bad way. 1 time bad way, 2 times good ways. Philly, Chargers, surprise, Saints. Wow. So we'll see. We'll see what the Giants can bring. Jackson Dart obviously has been great, and Cam Scatterbo, they've been great, and they've brought this energy, and I love this take last week from Kevin, and I've seen it elsewhere as well, is that these guys, these young guys just expect to win. They don't know the losing that has gone on within this organization for years, like a lot of these players do. Like Dexter Lawrence and Darius Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson and Andrew Thomas, the players that have been here for a long time. All these guys know is losing and bad football. And you hate that. You hate that as an organization. But you bring these 2 kids in who all they did was win in college, have winning seasons in college. They come in here with this different energy like, no, we're going to win. Like, we have a chance no matter what. If we're on the field, we're playing our game, we have a chance to win the football game. And I love that. And that changes the energy around the entire, not only team, but organization. These are the guys that are touching the ball the most in a game. And that energy is spreading. Brian Burns is playing like a defensive player of the year candidate. He's been that good. Lawrence, double teamed every play, opening up holes. Shouldn't say opening up holes. Giving chances to Kayvon and Brian Burns and whoever else is playing on the inside next to him. Darius Alexander has looked good. Chances at one-on-ones. It has been incredible, the turnaround of this team, and there is a legitimate excitement. I can't get this thing off my shirt here. There's a legitimate excitement around this team, and I haven't been this excited to watch a Giants game again in a very long time. So hopefully the Giants are able to go out there, give you a nice performance, give you something to be proud of, and you move on. And you got the Eagles again next week, and you're playing in Philadelphia, and who the hell knows what happens there. They have a tough game against the Vikings this week in Minnesota, against possibly a former friend there. So we'll see. We'll absolutely see. The Jets are a mess. I mean, this team is an absolute mess. They can't get out of their own way. They don't do many things right. The defense isn't even very good. The offense is a joke. And the one thing about Aaron Glenn that I don't like, and something I had seen early, was he was a little aggressive with the media. That he acted like he knew more than you. And he would go at you. And at times, I don't mind that. But when you're 0-6 and your team is awful and you're being questioned for decisions you're making that a majority of the people don't agree with, and not just fans, people around football don't agree with, and you're getting defensive and aggressive at the podium, I think that leads to not so good things. I think that leads to ultimately you getting fired. And I don't love his attitude at the podium. I don't, especially when you're 0-6. I'm not saying you need to go up to the podium and take a beating every time you go there because you're 0-6 and your team's not playing well and you're not doing a great job. I'm not saying that, but just be a little bit more friendly. Don't come at them. Don't act like you know all. That doesn't work. That doesn't work here. The Joe Judge Act did not work here with the Giants. Like, he knew more than you no matter what. Belichick could pull it off because Belichick did know more than most. But even so, Belichick can't pull that off now. What a story. What a story in North Carolina, by the way. That's unbelievable. We're going to have to do a whole other episode on that. Pablo Torre just came out with something else about the dynamic of what's going on with Jordan Hudson and Bill Belichick. What a story. That is a mess. But either way, can't act like that. And that's how he's acting. The answer is on Fields. Fields is legitimately the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. If you want to say Gabriel, fine. But I don't know. It's close. Justin Fields is that bad of a quarterback. So when somebody asks you right after the game or the day after the game, are you considering a change at quarterback? I understand you want to defend your guy, and I'm fine with that. Defend your guy without attacking the reporter like he's some idiot. Of course you should be considering a change. Justin Fields is the worst quarterback in the NFL. Of course you should be considering a change at quarterback. But no, he goes at the reporter. Why go at the reporter? I don't understand it. Justin Fields caused multiple sacks in that game. The offensive line did not play that poorly. They didn't give up 9 sacks. Justin Fields gave up more than half of those sacks. Please, for the love of Christ. These reporters know what they're doing. They're not just there to attack you. They actually have an understanding of how football works. So when they ask the question, are you considering a quarterback change, to a guy, by the way, who almost beat one of the best teams in football on the road, I think it's a pretty valid question. I don't think that reporter should be attacked. I don't think it's an easy answer. I really don't. So I think he's going to have issues. I don't know if he keeps his job because, you look at what the Patriots did here with Jerod Mayo. They knew that was a problem. They knew it wasn't going to work. And for their sake, they had a candidate that they knew would take the job, that, was the front runner to get the job, and he wanted to go there. So it's a different situation because I don't think the Jets are going to have people lining up at their door, big-time names lining up at their door to go take that job. But a change should be considered. If Muji believes that, hey, we could get this guy and we really like this guy and you have the number 1 overall pick and he wants the job, I think you got to at least very quietly field calls on who would actually take the job, on who's taking this job. If somebody of note would come in and take this job, I think you have to consider it. I do. I think you have to consider it. I'm all over the place today. The order in which I wanted to go in is just not the order. So we're going to go back to baseball and Skubal after we do a little Thursday night here. What a game on Thursday Night Football. These Thursday night games, man, they haven't been so bad, right? Now let's go through it here for a second. These Thursday night games, and you have obviously week 1 was the opener, Dallas-Philly. Week 2, it wasn't great, Commanders-Packers. That wasn't a great one. Week 3, Bills-Dolphins. That game was close. It was 31-21, but that game was close late. Week 4, you had Seahawks-Cardinals, which, went up and down a little bit. Cardinals had a chance late. Week 5, that Rams game, 49ers, the big upset. That was a great game. Week 6, you had Giants-Eagles, big upset. And now here, week 7, you had a 5.5-point underdog win at home with Joe Flacco throwing 342 yards, 3 touchdowns. Passer rating of 108.6. How about Chase Brown running for 9.8 yards a carry? How about Jamar Chase having 16 receptions for 161 yards and 23 touchdowns? And a little T. Higgins with the big play at the end, sliding 10 targets, 6 catches, 96 yards, and a tutty. I mean, what the hell went on in this football game? This game was drunk. Let's give a little credit first to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is playing decent football. He's playing good football. I mean, he can still obviously sling it. That throw at the end there to Freiermuth was unbelievable. I mean, he can still sling the rock. He also almost hit a Hail Mary, by the way, at the end. So Bengal bettors, including myself, are, shaking a little bit there. But either way, you have Rodgers playing good football, getting the tight ends involved. Metcalf has looked good. Warren and Gainwell have been a nice combo in the backfield. The offensive line hasn't truly killed you, although, was it Smith almost actually killed his quarterback yesterday? But either way, I digress. You have the offense actually showing some life. There is something there. It's not great. It's middle of the pack, but there's something there with that offense, with the tight ends and Metcalf, like I mentioned, with Rodgers. There's something there. But this defense, which is the highest paid defense in the league, is awful. Again, awful. What happened last night? How do you allow Joe Flacco to throw for 350 yards, have their best player have 16 catches and 161 yards and a touchdown? How is this possible? How is a Mike Tomlin-led defense allowing this? Makes no sense to me. And by the way, I got to say something. I don't think this is a lock anymore for the division, by the way. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination the Steelers are a lock to win the division. Let's go through the Bengals schedule for a second. They have the Jets and the Bears, both at home. Then a bye. Those could be 2 wins. But let's just say it's 1 win. They're 1-1. So you're 4-5. You're at 4-5 if you go 1-1 in those games. Then you go back to Pittsburgh. Who looked like the better team? That's the 16th of November. 23rd of November. You have the Patriots at home. That's probably a loss. If you can get Joe Burrow back for this Raven game on Thanksgiving, or then after the Raven game and the Bill game, 4:25 Sunday in Buffalo, you can get Burrow back for that game. I think you're looking at 7 wins. 7 losses here, excuse me. If we're giving them a loss to New England and Baltimore. If they could beat Pittsburgh again, 5-5, you're 5-7. Could they run the table? Beat Baltimore at home, at Miami, Cardinals, Browns. Obviously, that first game will be the Buffalo Bills. Could they run the table and win the division? Because you want to hear the Steelers schedule? I'll give you the Steelers schedule. It's not pretty. Steelers play home versus the Packers, home versus the Colts, at the Chargers, Bengals again, at the Bears, home against the Bills, at the Ravens, Dolphins, Lions, Browns, Ravens. I see a lot of teams better than them on that schedule. The Packers are better. The Colts are better. The Chargers are better. The Bills are better. The Ravens are better. The Lions are better. A lot of good football teams on that schedule. So I'm just saying, you're 4-2. This was a very winnable game that probably could have locked up the division. And listen, the Ravens, I don't think have any chance at this division. Even if you get Lamar back, how many games could you actually lose? Maybe they can win the division. Maybe you get Lamar back week 8 here after the bye. You got Bears, Dolphins, Vikings, Browns, Jets. 1 loss in there? Maybe 2. Bengals, Steelers, Bengals. You'd have to have 1 loss in that first 5, then 1 loss, Bengals, Steelers, Bengals, and you got to win out. You could afford 2 losses, and you're possibly... So this division that looked over at 4-1 for the Steelers, I don't think it's over. I think it's very much alive for the Bengals or the Ravens to get their quarterbacks back and have a chance. And if the Steelers do not win the division this year, with what has gone on in this division, with the injuries and the overall play, if they don't win this division, then you have serious grounds for firing, I think, if you actually want to get rid of Tomlin. Again, I am not the guy to sit here and scream for jobs of Tomlin or Harbaugh, because I think if you find a coach like that, you keep him as long as he wants to be here. But you could consider it if you don't win the division this year, because this is wide open. You brought in a veteran quarterback. It's not even wide open. You should win it. And with the way the defense has played, that's Tomlin's side of the ball. They haven't been good. They haven't been top 10 in years after having the highest paid defense the last 4 years. It's always an overrated defense. Every single year, I come into the season screaming and yelling that they have an overrated defense, and then they put up a performance like that. Disgusting performance. And it's like, what the hell is that? Give the Bengals credit. Give Flacco credit. They did a great job. They had a good game plan. Give them credit. They did a great job. And that's that. Before we get out of here, Skubal available. Apparently, they're $250 million apart in a contract, which is insane to me. I mean, I think the number has to start with 4. So if they're at $150 million, I mean, what the hell are we doing? Is he asking for 5? What's going on? So I think Skubal will be traded because I don't think they get a deal done. I don't think they're going to come close to a deal. I don't know how much I believe the Heyman report that it's $250 million apart, but I think he's getting it traded. And now, obviously, Mets Twitter is going crazy. Mets Twitter is going crazy because they see that Skubal is available and they could possibly get him. I'll caution Met fans on this. You want Tariq Skubal for 2026, that's perfectly fine. I understand the excitement. But you're going to give up Jonah Tong and Carson Benj and other top prospects that are going to make impacts not only on the 2026 team, but beyond. You're going to give up these top prospects to get him for 1 year and then pay him $400 million. I would rather hold out hope he doesn't get traded or gets traded to a team that's not going to extend him. And then you get him in 2027 in the offseason. And then now you line up your rotation with Tariq Skubal, Nolan McLean, Brandon Sprout, Jonah Tong. That's how I would do it. That's how you build teams. You have cheap, young pitching at the top, and you go and you pay for that big-time ace when he becomes available. That's Skubal. That was Stearns' vision. I don't think he trades those young pieces to go get him and bring him here a year earlier. I think you got to hold out hope he doesn't go to a spot where they pay him. Maybe they keep him. They're certainly not going to pay him, and you get him in free agency. That's what I would do. The opinions can change. My mind could change, but as of right now, that's where I'm at with Skubal. That's where I'm at with the Mets trading for him. I think other teams, it would make a ton of sense. Again, I think he does get traded, but we'll see if an extension comes with it. If you don't go to the right team, if you don't go to a Yankees, a Mets, a Dodgers, a Red Sox, a Phillies, it doesn't really make sense to sign that extension. It makes sense to go hit the market. Now, if you're going to have a team that's willing to pay top dollar, even before you hit the market, sign the extension. If the Mets traded for him, sign the extension. The Yankees traded for him, sign the extension. The Yankees aren't going to. I'm just using them as an example. Phillies traded for you, sign the extension. They're going to be willing to pay top dollar. Then they're going to be willing to pay top dollar when you get to hit the market. So, it's an interesting case. I think he gets moved. I don't know where. But if I had to guess, he gets moved to a spot where they're not extending him. They're going to let him hit the open market, and you see what happens. That'll do it. Mic'd Up, episode 11. Thanks so much for listening. Be back next week. Ton of stuff. Obviously, Burrows will be out. We'll have a gambling show. Check out the gambling show this week. I'm seeing the board incredibly well the last 2 weeks. Had the Thursday night game. Not only the Bengals plus the 5.5, had the Bengals on the money line as well. Check out the gambling show. I have a lot of great picks this week. Bo as well. Super pumped for the football weekend and obviously the baseball to go along. Enjoy all the sports. We'll talk to you guys next week.